I'm Glenn Grotto, and today I'm presenting Targeting El Paso by Frontline. This is Frontline's analyzation of the border. Starting off, what is Frontline? Well, Frontline began airing in 1983 on PBS. The mission of Frontline is to educate people on current events. So far, the Frontline show has won 110 Emmy Awards, 34 Peabody Awards, and an Academy Award. In 2020, Frontline released an episode called Targeting El Paso. This following quote is from the synopsis of the episode. Quote, Frontline investigates how El Paso, Texas became the Trump administration's immigration policy testing ground and the target of a white supremacist. End quote. A little bit of background on the Public Broadcasting Service, or PBS. It was originally established in 1969. And when it first started, PBS only hosted shows from other producers instead of producing any of their own. Iconic shows, such as Sesame Street, aired on 11/1969. PBS would eventually become an educational service for all ages. And while many people do think that PBS is only for kids, they have their own service for that. But in short, Frontline proves that education is for everybody, and that PBS is being educational for as many people as possible. Audience info. I do admit some of these numbers are a little out of date, but I can't find any source that's more recent than from 2003. So, as of 2001, a weekly average of 4.6 million viewers tuned in for Frontline. Typical viewers of the program were younger in age, specifically from 35 to 49, and viewers were usually more affluent and well-educated. By the way, they also tended to lean more towards men than women. Message analysis. Target El Paso, the episode originally aired on January 7th, 2020, and the episode focused on quite a few issues that were occurring within El Paso at the time, such as detention centers, testing of border policy, and the Walmart shooting. The episode informed audience of current events, which I see as the main message of the episode. It was to show audiences how the situation looked like from inside of El Paso's borders. Continuing on with that, to show examples of how I believe it becomes more informative than anything else, the episode had multiple speakers that maintained a relatively monotone voice. It used multiple videos from first-hand accounts from people that were experiencing the border or were experiencing having to wait for asylum, and it also had conversations from actual news publications alongside presidential speeches. The episode attempted to frame every subject as just an event. It was showing things as they were occurring, not saying like, "Oh, this was caused by this person" or "this was caused by that person." It was mainly just showing how everything went down. The main part of the episode that wasn't just info was when they used testimonies from actual people. Again, they had speakers from those that were on the other side waiting for asylum. So it makes sense that people who were outright experiencing it would be far more emotional than informative. But overall, the episode was highly informative within its tone and its message. We see this through delivery, sources, and even just the action of gathering testimonies. Bias. The piece of media highlighted the struggles of immigrants, and this really is where a majority of the bias was. While PBS and Frontline as an extension tried to remain as neutral as possible, as it says in the second point, it attempted to shine lights on both sides by giving speakers from both sides a chance to speak. In general, it really did favor more immigrants than anybody else, or those advocating on the behalf of immigrants. Media effects. The main one, and honestly the only one I could really see, was from agenda setting. Quote from the book, when mass media focus their attention on particular events or issues, they determine what people discuss and what they pay attention to. End quote. Even if this piece of media was meant to be neutral, reporting on the situation still brings attention to the event. Thus, it is still agenda setting. And because of the more sympathetic tone that some of the speakers had, or at the very least the more emotional tone, it can cause the agenda to be set that this is a bad thing, even when the program itself attempts to be neutral. Ethical considerations. As I just mentioned, PBS claims that it's neither left nor right leaning in its politics. However, many people, including the White House, refer to PBS as liberal outlet, mainly due to the fact that it does happen to typically depict conservatives as being on the more aggressive side when it comes to politics. The subject matter is also another thing that kind of throws into question whether or not it's left or right or how it may affect the average viewer. Because a lot of the things that it does talk about and it does portray can upset people, making them go to one side or the other based on how they were portrayed within the episode. Examples are the Child Detention Center segment, the racism that was portrayed when we saw people coming in from the border and how people from El Paso were reacting, the sympathetic tone of certain speakers, and, as earlier, the wait in Mexico, the waiting for asylum. And as a conclusion, for me, since this slide was meant to depict my interpretation or how I got to it, I was born in El Paso. I was raised in El Paso. And my education so far, I believe, has been very good. I participate in speech and debate, which the particular event being domestic extemporaneous and international extemporaneous. In other words, pretty much every single month, at least one time a month, I have to research events that are going on in the world. And these are going on from El Paso to New York City, all the way to Berlin, to England, and to Asia. I'm having to research and understand these events. So when I came across this episode while looking for something to cover, I was immediately enraptured. I wanted to do something on this video, and thankfully, this gave me the potential to do it. In general, I am more liberal than conservative, which I kind of agree with the whole bias or the ethical consideration slides in that, yeah, it seems to be more liberal than conservative in how it seems to approach certain subjects. All in all, though, I'm happy I chose this piece of media because my interpretation of it is it was very well informed and it was a great way to shine a light on El Paso and its issues. These are my resources for today's presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.